Who actually grew up with a gal from the Navajo reservation. Their family kind of adopted them. It was pretty common, 20, 30 years ago that there was lots of families that would send their kids that were from the Navajo reservation to go and live with other families. I know my parents had some that lived with them as well. So one of the, my coworkers, he got a call just last week from his sister, or half sister, or whatever you call it, stepsister or something. Anyway, she called and said she was reaching out to her other siblings and said, we really need some help down here. And, she's a little bit older now, she's a grandma, and just like everyone else down there, she's a grandma that lives in their trailer along with their kids and her grandkids. There's 9 of them that are all in this trailer. And she said they really need diapers. They've got a newborn as well as a size 5 diaper. They're living on, she just got laid off just before, or right as soon as this COVID-19 thing hit, and doesn't have any connection to food stamps or anything like that. So she's on, they basically got $600 a month they're living on with those 9 people in that house.
Which goes away in a few days.
And so that was just their situation. Obviously, water is a huge issue. They're living on, just like everyone else, they have water bottles that they primarily drink out of, and they have to haul everything else as far as water goes. So he just mentioned a couple of things that they're looking for, that they're going to do that they needed, and that was mac and cheese, dry pinto beans, masks, and cleaning supplies, plastic cups. So I appreciate everybody that's already donated, but I wanted to share this because it really becomes personal, right? Then we gain that personal tie of what's going on down there and what really is going on.
What size diapers are needed?
So with this family, it was size 5 and newborn. So I am going to try and see if we can't coordinate with them and find another contact down there to see what other needs there might be. And maybe what we'll try and do is see if we can't get what we have collected here to go to that area.
I was just gonna say, because we get a lot of diapers donated to Canyon Creek Services, and sometimes we don't always have a need. So we have a surplus of certain sizes.
Great.
So I will check and see if we have a surplus of diapers that we're not using, and see if we can't get those.
Very good.
Paul, if you send out a list, I think there's other groups that would be interested, so if you send it to us, then we could go make a service project at Southwest Tech. We have a service project next month, so.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. So maybe we'll continue focusing on that, and then I just wanted to share a couple of videos really quick on, hopefully this isn't something that goes on for an extenuated period where all we do is continue to supply this, or that the COVID is so restricting, but it's definitely a neat thing to be a part of, and one of those things that really makes us all feel better. It's also one of those things that, like I mentioned last week, I'm really excited about this opportunity for us to be involved at the Navajo Reservation. I looked at the location where this would be going, and it would take us 4.5 hours to get there. So, it's super doable, and to me that excites me that we could go down there and see the change on the individual spaces.
Closest, it's southeast Utah we're talking about?
Yeah, so southeast Utah, it's north of Tuba, south of Blanding. Yeah.
Okay. What I was wondering is if there were, one of the things we could do, and you can actually do it by mail, send some gift cards, but I don't know whether there's even a Walmart in Blanding.
There's not.
Yeah.
Monticello?
I think
they have a grocery store.
a lot of it's difficult too when they're out there on the reservation. A lot of them, it's 100 miles round trip just for water.
Okay.
And so,
So
yeah.
I think the question, one thing you could do for us if we had a map
Okay.
that showed the reservation and where various things were, so that we could get an idea of what exactly we're talking about, what we're dealing with.
Yeah, it goes down into New Mexico.
You know, and I
Arizona.
include the whole thing, because
Yeah.
we're not gonna stop at the border.
Right,
You know.
yeah, exactly.
Right, so
Well,
it really helped me, and the question is, where's the closest store and whatever? Because I used to do this for my brother, I would actually have a grocery list, and I'd order it through Walmart.com, and then he'd go pick it up.
Right.
In Forceman, Arkansas, so you know, we could almost do things like that, to where if we
Yeah,
couldn't get enough, but we could throw a couple $100 in the pot and do some shopping that way, and then have somebody pick it up. So there's a lot of ways we can do that, because
Great idea.
I ordered things at 10 in the morning, so it'd be 11 there, and he picked them up at 1.
yeah.
So I mean, it's just that fast and that easy.
Well, we'll do some more coordinating then. I think what I'll do is, Tessa, maybe I'll get with you. We can talk to the Angel Flight program and see where we've been and what we've done, as well as there's
I
been
appreciate it.
tons, not just tons, but weight tons from other Rotary clubs that have donated. I know Bountiful they've sent a couple of semi-trucks down full of supplies. So I'll coordinate with that and see kind of where we've been and continue on some of those needs. So let me click this on real quick.
On new efforts to get on the grid, to get the water. Part of his ongoing series, Agents for Change, and this week's Leading Edge segment.
Darlene Arvizo's truck route takes her to some of the most remote and isolated people in America. She is the home to the world outside, her payload literally a lifeline.
Stuart can't
That
hear
she's
it.
looking
She's known as the region where 50% of residents have no access to running water. Many live in such extreme poverty they can't even afford large containers. Often, Darlene Arvizo delivers more than just water. Working with her church and other charities, she helped this family at the onset of last winter.
I brought them food. I saw the trailer, the small one. We gave out some blankets, boards to cover the window. That time it was snowing.
So it gets pretty cold.
Yes,
up here.
it gets very cold.
A few miles away, Arvizo has a new customer. Tina Vicente returned to her family's ancestral land from a trailer park she'd rented in the town of Peru, New Mexico. Despite the harsh conditions, she wanted to raise her 5 children, including 6-month-old twin girls, on the Navajo reservation.
I wanted to have my children have more open space for them to run around outside.
What they gave up are 2 of life's most basic amenities, electricity and running water. Water they use in their new home is carried in from Vicente's mother's home, a mile down the road at the other end of their homestead. Even using the toilet involves a trip to Grandma's house.
I'm planning to look into getting a porta potty or a porta outhouse. As for the shower and the bath, I can't really do anything unless I have a main water line until I have a septic service and all of that. But like I said, I can't get that.
Due to a long waiting list, getting connected to the main water line could take up to 15 years, and it will cost more than $12,000. Although Vicente works full-time, piped-in water is a luxury she cannot afford.
For a long time, we've told those people, just wait, infrastructure will catch up with you. Well, infrastructure is not coming.
George McGraw founded a group called Dig Deep that used to work on water projects in Africa, but is now directing its efforts to help some of the 2 million people in this country, like the Vicente family, who lack access to clean water and sanitation.
But when the backhoe is active, everyone needs to have a hard hat on.
That includes 18,000 homes in the Navajo Nation. Wells are not an option for most homeowners. They're deep, expensive, and there's no guarantee of clean water.
A lack of clean water in the United States does exactly the same thing to families it does around the world. It impacts their health, their ability to hold down a job, to get an education, their ability to spend time with their kids, to play, to have a happy life.
Dig Deep's solution is in off-grid systems that don't require a utility hookup. Tina Vicenti's is one of nearly 300 homes being fitted with large water storage systems and solar-powered pumps to bring drinking water directly into the home.
It's gonna be good because we don't have to haul water. We'll have it here. It'll allow us to give the girls a bath, in the sink because they're still small, and it'll allow good drinking water.
As more of these 1,200-gallon cisterns are installed, there's a need for a more convenient water source. So Dig Deep is looking for spots to drill more community wells like this one. It's a costly and time-consuming process. The first task when water comes out of this hole is to make sure that it's free of contaminants. Uranium from old mines is a common one. If it checks out as clean, this well will bring huge savings for hundreds of families who come from miles around here. On average, residents of the Navajo Reservation pay 13 cents for a gallon of water. That is 72 times what a typical ratepayer pays in suburban Arizona or New Mexico.
We spend a lot of our time out here working on water projects, but a lot more time in our office in Los Angeles, for instance, trying to convince everybody in America they should pay attention to this problem, care about it, and want to do something about it.
Last year, Dig Deep did manage to convince some nearby Rotary clubs, which pledged some $75,000, which will fund about 18 installations like this one in Tina Vicenti's home. Rotary International has long been involved in clean water projects around the world, but Jim Bissonette of Scottsdale, Arizona said they never imagined doing this work in their own backyard.
It's kind of shocking to think that people in the United States don't have running water. We're going to change the lives of this family dramatically from the water they're carrying in pickle jars to their house to actually having running water. And that's a huge shift for them.
They'll have a few more small luxuries with the new rooftop solar panel. It will drive the water pump and also some basic LED lighting.
Lights! When we have power.
Projects like these also help train and provide work that can keep local talent local. 23-year-old Annie Begay's skills could fetch a job anywhere in America, but she's thrilled to be able to stay in the place she calls home.
You get to know the family before we put in these systems. You get to know a little bit of their background, and it's where I grew up, so it's a good feeling knowing that you're helping where you grew up.
Finally, at the end of a long day, the water lady arrived for her big delivery, and Annie Begay tightened the last screws. It was time to gather around the sink for an impromptu celebration as Tina Vicenti turned on the faucet. A mundane and giant leap for this family into the modern world that many of her neighbors are still waiting to join. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Fred DeSan Lazaro in the Navajo Nation.
Not taking water for granted. And Fred's wonderful reporting is a partnership with the Undertold Stories Project at the University of St. Thomas in Minnesota.
Okay. So that's just a little taste of what's going on, and a little taste of what we want to do, how we want to improve the lives of those that are near to us, close to us. So you can see I wanted to share that clip. There's lots of clips. If you Google it, there's lots of people that are trying to reach out to these groups. But most of them tell the similar story, and it's a lot of the same groups that are involved. But there are lots of different clips on this. A lot of different inspirational stories, particularly the group Dig Deep that is drilling the wells and providing those. But it's been a couple years ago that Rotary got involved, clubs out of California, and as was mentioned there, you saw the guy from Phoenix that have been putting quite a bit of money towards that. So I've reached out to them, I have contacts with them, and as well as a different group that is just doing electricity, where you put solar panels on top of the roofs of houses. So there's just a couple of different options that we'll be looking at and exploring, and hopefully partners with and build a long relationship to be able to help better the lives down there. So with that, what I would like to do is start with, let's see, I'll pick a table. Let's start with this table here. And if we could just have you guys stand up and tell a little bit. You want them to come up here, Sue?
Yeah, 'cause I got
So
it.
come up here. Sue wants you to come up here. We've just got a recording. And just tell a little bit about yourself. Just
It's a GoPro.
like probably about your career, family, and again, just a couple of minutes so that everybody can get to know each other a little bit better.
We're not going to do everybody today, are we?
We're gonna have time to do everybody today, I don't think.
I can't write this.
Yeah, just real quick, wanted to mention a couple things.
I just have when Paul was talking about the placement program, my in-laws had several different Navajo girls that came and stayed. But one in particular has remained a part of our family. So I have a Navajo sister-in-law, and I have two nephews and two nieces there, and we're pretty close. We stay in contact a lot, and we do quite a few things. And Bobette took her to church with her one day, and Denise Begay was her name. Maybe Jennifer might remember. I can't think of anybody else in here that might, but anyway, so Relief Society, she went to introduce her, and she says, "This is my Indian sister, Denise." And afterwards, Denise got upset with her just a little. She says, "Why do you introduce me as your Indian sister? They can see I'm an Indian." And then when Bobette and I graduated from college, we went to Page, and Bobette taught her first year of kindergarten out there. And I ran a different business out there, and we saved her money, and that's how we came back. But her first year of teaching, with the kindergarten, she taught, half of the kids she taught were Navajo kids off the reservation. And most of them, even at 5 years old, they weren't even potty trained. And they were in a classroom. They were temporary classrooms that had been built when the dam had been built. And she had some great experiences with them, but one of them that I liked the best was she had a little boy who his head was really flat on the back because he'd been in the cradle, what do they call it? A cradle board for so long that his head was just real flat. And I can't remember his name, but anyway, he didn't talk all year. And then right at the end of the year, he was standing there by Bobette, and he says, "Mrs. Clark smells good." And he says, "Sheldon, come and smell her." But they're great people, and they lived, what you're seeing is how a lot of them have lived. Hogans, dirt floors, no running water, no electricity. And you can see from that that's their home, and that's where they want to stay. Because all of them could move. They could, I think the tribe, they have some money and they can help with different things or whatever at times. But they choose to be there, and that's their home. So we need to help them have some of these conveniences. And I believe that solar and some of those things have been invented for these type of things to really help people on that and the water situation. So I hope our club will get involved with that.
Ladies first.
Oh, look, you.
You're supposed to be
No,
on stage.
yeah.
Okay, all right, you're just getting.
I'm the videographer attempting to be.
Okay, I'm Christy Hugh. I've been in Cedar City for I don't know, 27 years. My husband and I had a photography studio for 24 of those years, and just the last 3 years I've worked at Southwest Tech, where we hold our meetings, or we'll start holding them again next month. I work as President Wood's executive assistant, and I'm full-time, and just, I really enjoy it. It's a great place to work. It's a great co-workers and a great cause. I'll give a little tidbit of information. Miriam asked me to tell you about the BLT. So part of our fun, isn't it fun to have food themes? The BLT sandwich was our theme today because tomorrow's BLT day. Anyone have any idea how long the BLT's been around? Since the
Tomatoes.
20s, 40s. I don't know what
Since
dance move I'm
acronyms
doing.
work.
I was kind of doing it. What dance moves from the 40s? None of them.
Charleston?
Oh, okay.
That's it, 20.
That's the 20s. So it comes from the famed Chicago Tribune writer Bert L. Taylor. He was the first one to put the BLT in print. It was his favorite sandwich, or a sandwich he was familiar with, and he put it in print. So that's the first record of the BLT. It comes from the Chicago Tribune writer. That's it. Cool.
Very good.
The side of the table, huh?
Yeah.
I have no jokes. I limp a little because I have a new knee and a new hip. Not new, they're a year old, 2 years old. I was born in Boston. This is really funny. Lived briefly in Cambridge. Now, let's see, you have Boston as a son, right? And then Brennan has Cambridge as his daughter. I'm thinking, I don't think he even knew me, but anyway. Grew up in the town of Bedford, Massachusetts, which is right between Lexington and Concord. Joined the Air Force right out of high school at age 17. Had to get my parents to sign for me. Was in Korea for 13 months after the war, and but it was a mess. And then in Colorado Springs for the next 3 years. I learned the newspaper business in the Air Force because I was a reporter in Colorado Springs on the base newspaper. Used to cover Air Force Academy football games and stuff like that, and got out of the Air Force, and on a Friday, after 4 years, I went to work for the Colorado Springs Gazette, the daily newspaper, on Monday. In 1968, we moved to Las Vegas, where I started as an advertising salesman for the Las Vegas Review-Journal. A couple of years after that, I was advertising director, and then in 1978, we moved to Carson City, where I ran this is all the same company, Don Ray Media Group. Ran the paper for Don Ray and the Carson City, Nevada Appeal for about 8 years, and then we moved to Chico, California. Ran that paper for about 4 years, then back to Las Vegas to run the Review-Journal for about 5 years, and then I became vice president of the company and supervised 17 newspapers in the West. Moved to Fort Smith, Arkansas, which is the headquarters for the company. And in 1999, I saw that the newspaper business, I don't think was going to do any better than, over the years I worked there, some of the wealthiest people in the country owned newspapers. They were billionaires. But starting in late 90s, early 2000s, the internet took over. And so I retired in January 1999, a mere 21 years ago. And really enjoying retirement. We've lived in Cedar City ever since. And I think Sherry and I have each lived in about 8 different places. We've been married for 55 years this November, and we have 2 sons and a daughter. One son is a retired firefighter. The other one is a fire investigator in Las Vegas. And our daughter works at Grifols Drawing Blood, and she's also a dental assistant. And so we have 7 grandchildren and 4 great-grandchildren, and that's it.
How many cruises have you been on?
50.
50 cruises.
Oh, thank you for asking. I forgot that we did cruises. Haven't done one, though, for almost a year.
For those who don't, I'm Neil Smith. We've lived in Cedar since 2004. I was born in Oklahoma. I was 11. We moved to California. and went to junior high, high school, college, Long Beach State. I met Marguerite there, my wife of almost 56 years this coming December. We actually had 4 children. We have 4 great-grandchildren, or 8 grandchildren, 4 great-grandchildren, and a 5th on the way. So I got you, David. You better tell your family to show up, or hurry up. So anyway, I actually worked for Sears when it was Sears. So I started for Sears in 1964, a few weeks before I got married, because I had to get a real job at the time. And I tell everybody it was a good place to go to work for in 1964. But by the time I went back to and worked in the Sears Tower in 1989 and looked around and listened to what they were saying and paying attention, and the only smart people in the world were in that tower. So all the ones out in the stores, they were stupid. And they didn't know what they were talking about. They didn't know what they were talking about. So when they offered us a package in 1993, I took it and ran like crazy. And after that, Montgomery Ward was in that same town. I worked for them for 2 years. And then I actually retired for 17 months. And my line is, you only travel so much, you can only play so much golf, and you can only clean the basement once. And then after that, you go crazy, you have to do something. So I ran a nonprofit Illinois Main Street program in the town where I live for 4 years before we moved here. And then I realized that I could not retire. I mean, I just couldn't go sit on a porch somewhere. I mean, again, there's only so many hikes and so many golf balls you can lose and that. So I had gotten involved in Rotary around 2000, and I just love to volunteer. I love to do things. For the last 6 years, I've worked for Southwest Tech, 5.5 years. And that's just a blessing to be able to impact the community and the future economy. We've started scholarship programs. We've given out well over 400 scholarships, and they've all led to certificates. And if you want to know the power of an institution that it's all happened within the last 5 or 6 years after that building was built, and it actually had room to perform its programs, 60% of the certificate earners at Southwest Tech find a job in Iron, Beaver, Kane, or Garfield counties, 60%. 80% find a job in Utah. So it's absolutely, the support the Rotary Club gives is just fantastic and much appreciated.
Very good. Well, I think we'll save the rest for another day. Appreciate those 3 that got the opportunity to stand and give their speeches, but I encourage those that are a little more senior and those that are younger to mingle and get to know each other. And if you're senior and you've been in Rotary for a long time, look for those that are new in Rotary and teach them about Rotary, teach them about everything that's involved there. So I think that's going to be a great long-standing thing that will keep this club vibrant for years to come. So with that, let's stand and say the 4-way test. And don't forget to take apricots.